The 30th of August 2024, migrants survey, fake surveys and migrants, and this is mainly about migration. A properly run society with what they call a rules-based system would operate by the rules. Now, there is no constitutional provision on migration, but there was the Aliens Act of 1935. Maybe if people had to know at that time that the government would do what they're doing, there would have been a constitutional amendment. Remember, my main thing that brought me into this is energy, because I saw the mad, ludicrous energy and the deluded idea, oh, we'll get rid of fossil fuel. What a crowd of idiots with Cabbage Head Ryan and all that. But politically, there was not many votes in energy. There wasn't enough votes in the mad electricity prices and all that, and the destruction of industry to elect anyone. That's the reality. People didn't understand it, and they were never going to understand it. But the energy policy was a product of the ignorance of the left-wing, cultural Marxist, globalist, elitist, World Economic Forum, and all them lachicos. It was the product of that. And so it was only inevitable that they'd go to get worse and worse. The migration was obviously a way to destroy Western societies. And there were other ideas there, such as pushing excessive LGBTQ and forcing children to choose their gender at 4. This is all the product of this mad ideology. And it has a grip fully with the Green Party, fully with Sinn Féin, fully with Fianna Fáil, fully with Fine Gael, and all the democratic lefts and the people before profit and all that. But it's not the general view of the voter. So there is traction there for somebody who fights it when you have everything in the bag, particularly the migration. So in Ireland, unlike Britain, you have a PR system whereby people can still pick 1 or 2 candidates, but you have 5 seats, constituencies, and 4 and 3. So there's always the possibility that there'll be enough people in one constituency to say, we want this stopped, and they'd vote for a candidate, or maybe 2. So you could get a candidate elected in a 4-seater. Now, the main parties know this, and they're going to bring out lies and everything to try and stop that, and they'll make promises that they'll never keep. So we have to be alert for that. Nobody should trust them anymore. But there'll still be a few people who will trust them and will say, well, I'll not go against them. But yet, because of our system, there is a hope. Now, in Germany, where Scholz, the mad, loony lefty, Scholz's party, they are turning their coat. They have issued directives now that the only thing migrants will get is bread and soap. Bread and soap, I think that's it. And they're looking at sending them back and everything else. Now, in Britain, Starmer is a lost cause. He's going to fill the place with migrants. You had an incident in the channel, in English Channel the other day, where the French boats, French Navy, stopped dinghies, rubber dinghies, with migrants crossing to Britain. But if they had to get to Britain, they're loved. Keir Starmer would go down to the south coast, and he would, at Dover, and he would welcome them and caress them and everything. He's just a loony lefty. And people think they're going to get rid of him. You go online there, you see everyone on about, we'll get rid of him. I tell you folks in England, you not get rid of him. It's easy to slip into communism, but it's not too easy to slip out. Any event, that's the story. It is becoming a main issue all over the world. It's a main issue in America and everything else. And it's a war to the death. The war between the pro-migration, the left-wing loonies, and my side is every bit as bitter as the war between Ukraine and Russia, and the war between the Israelis and the Palestinians and Hamas and all of this. Okay, so I'm going to go into one of my videos that got a good lot of traction there, and I'm going to look to see what the reaction is. And there's one particular reaction from the left, and I want to deal with it. Now, you might think, switch them off and delete them. I don't delete people for having a different opinion to me. And it's very important to understand what the view of these people is. I worked with them 40 years ago with these people. It's a delusion, of course. But the thing is, we need to examine it and see what it is. Now, the other thing is that it must be remembered that in any election, there are probably still 40% to 50% of people who will vote for the traditional parties no matter what. But it's the other few that can swing it. There's no doubt the Greens have swung Fine Gael and Fianna Fáil even more. Now, user stroke YV1OD6HO7T. My God, could he not pick Big Tom or something? Anyway, we'll call him @user. There's a @ sign in there as well. So, @user, whatever. We're going to read what this guy says. Now, this is one of several comments which are all on my side, but this one is against me. You don't get it. So, first of all, he's telling me I don't understand. I'm a senior citizen, living in Ireland most of my life, but travelled a bit, with a degree in business studies in accounting. And I don't get this, you know. I passed the exams. I had to go in. At 47, I was in doing exams over in the region in Dundalk for the Institute of Public Administration exams in management accounting, cost accounting, historic accounting, and all of the other business things, including some very highfalutin mathematics, the learning curve, and I got an honour in the whole thing all done. I think it was 5 exams per year for 3 years. That's 15 exams. And there was one I dropped below the 50%, but because there was a compensatory on the other one, it brought me up. But that's 1 out of 15. 14 I got honours in, and one I had a bad day. I don't know why. But anyway, but there was an incident happened in the middle of it. There was a couple of bubbly women there, and gas characters there were, and there were funny ones, and they were always having fun and laughing and making a cut of people and everything else. And this mayor was out in front of a big glass building, and it was PJ Carroll and Company at one time. And the mayor was there, and she was in season, and didn't a stallion break into her? And he had romance in a big way on his mind, and she didn't want him. And in the middle of the whole thing, the mayor threw a kick and broke the glass of the window. And it's really, really upset people. Now, they give it an extra 5 minutes, but the women started laughing, and I started laughing, and we done bad. We done bad that day. But it was fierce crack. But anyway, I digress. I'm sorry about that. Now, he says you don't get it. So he's first of all telling me I don't understand. Right, that's the first thing. Immigrants are not putting a strain on the economy. Well, there's no doubt that the people from Eastern Europe that came to Ireland did not necessarily put a strain on the economy. They were used when I was building my shed. People used them. And I used to go down and chat to them. And there was one lad down there, and I used to bring him an odd mug of coffee. And there's no doubt the people from Eastern Europe who are here are all anxious to give a product. But you see what he's doing. You see the way they tell the lie. See, he's lumping all immigrants in together. We have a service-based traditional capitalist economy. Well, I'd like to see a service and an industrial base, but the Greens have driven the industry out, all but about 5 or 6 companies. And so service-based is derivatives, insurance and all of that. It's fur coat and no underwear, as Frankie Howard used to say. It's all right on its own thing, but you need a mix. And that's coming to the fore now as there's wars threatened, and they can't even make the bullets. They can't make the guns because they have no industry. So if it's a service-based traditional capitalist economy, then that is wrong. It shouldn't be. It should be a service, industrial, agricultural and all that. More people equals more goods and services sold. Well, we're not allowed to make goods because you have a carbon tax. You have penalties on energy, with the highest electricity prices in the world. So, more people coming in as migrants, dictated by somebody we don't even know who they are. Bearing in mind that Fianna Fáil councillor Clifford Kelly and Sinn Féin councillor Paddy MacDonald said at the meeting in Kingsford that they could get no information. How does this guy, user, know they're not just the contents of the prisons of Europe and Pakistan and Africa? More people equals more goods and services sold. Well, do we want more goods and services? Who benefits? We have a situation where Irish students are putting out leaflets looking for a place to stay. What good is it? Who benefits? Who owns the windmills here that's the cod? BlackRock Investments in America. Kingspan plc is still Irish owned, and that's because the family that own it are traditional Irish people. But a lot of those things eventually go to America. You look at all Circle K, they're buying all the filling stations and the service stations and the convenience stores, American. What benefit is that to us except a few jobs? Why can the Irish not run these things? Hence the Celtic Tiger. Well, I'll have them know the Celtic Tiger come flat on its heels. It took 64 billion of borrowing out of my pocket that gained little from the Celtic Tiger to bail out the Celtic Tiger. A strain on schools and infrastructure is irrelevant. You see, it's irrelevant because he's probably sitting in his parents' basement and he's a lefty and he's not suffering from this. He probably didn't get, if it's a technical training. He probably knows nothing about engineering. Did he know how a lathe works? Does he know how a milling machine works? Could he wire a house? So it's easy talking. We don't know what the qualification of this fella is. A strain on schools and infrastructure is irrelevant to free market expanding. Why should we free market expand? I thought the whole idea of our republic was that our own people came first and then that they created the wealth. And the poor man who had 15 of a family, those families got up and they reared good kids, and I see that all around me. I remember some bigoted old people saying, should they live up in a cottage, you know. And the people that were reared there are some of the best friends of mine. I mean, what a ridiculous thing to say. That's the whole idea of our capitalist freedom economy. Everyone gets a fair go, you make what you like, and an odd fella makes a cut of it. I know several people who had good businesses going and drank till they were sick. And when you'd go to meet them for some business thing, they'd be drunk. Come on in and have a drink. Now, I enjoy a drink myself, but it's in the right place. So that's what capitalism is. If you drink yourself under the table, you'll be out of it and you'll be doing some other job. And making exponential profits. So what he's saying here, a strain on schools and infrastructure is irrelevant to free market expanding and making exponential profits. Well, there is one of the big divides between he and I. Is that the way you put it? Him and me, or her and me. Profit is everything. They know the price of everything and the value of nothing. And the government is keeping these windmills going when they're all loss making, and they're putting it by the back door, hidden corruptly on the bills of people. And I've explained how that happens. More crime equals more prisons built and more private profit. So let them stab the school teachers, drive knives into them, stab the clergymen that gives us pastoral care, hit mothers coming out of places. Next thing is, go into the pubs, you shouldn't be drinking, and they'll stick the knife into them and all of this. So this guy says that's 100%. It doesn't matter. All that matters is how much the pub makes selling the stuff. See, so there you are. See, that's what I'm saying. We must put these fellas in a bag of their own. He's obviously a Fine Gael supporter. The fact the public might have tax increases is neither here nor there. Well, taxes is a separate issue. Inflation is a hidden tax. We already pay taxes on nearly everything we do. In a post-Christian, well, why should we be post-Christian? I didn't consent to giving up our Christian way of life, and it must be said, replacing it with Islam. Post-Christian nationalist capitalist society, everything can be incorporated to become an industry. Now, you can see the way this fellow thinks, and he is not alone. We will never talk him out of it. And that makes a profit from crime, making a profit from crime. Solicitors make a profit from crime, and lawyers, to a certain extent. But people have to have representation. So the way he sees it is, bring in millions of criminals and let them loose on the public, and when they stab a few of them to death, have a big prison and have lawyers and everything to hum and bum and the international court and the whole lot, and off you go hunky-dory. Fair enough. but I'm not joining that squad. To the legalisation of drugs, now he's into the dope. You poison the youth straight away, dope them up. To pornography, well, I just can't deal with that. I don't know what the hell he's on about. Hardly anything is off limits. Nothing's off limits. So who decided that? Long ago there was the band The Tailor Nansky by Eric Cross, a book about a tailor and the wife, and there was a bit of old fun in it, and the bandit, you know, and the band Joyce is Ulysses, and I don't agree with that. Obviously, at some stage, such a paradigm. Now, I must look up the meaning of the word paradigm. I know it kind of, but I'm going to check it again. Now, I had to learn a lot of these words because I used to lock horns on social media with the lefties before they couldn't take me anymore. I had them beaten and then they banned me. So we look at this word paradigm and see these fellas bringing up this, and this is what they throw up, you see, if there's a meeting and nobody knows what it means. And this is where I can get them. I can tell everyone what this means. So a paradigm, P-R-A-D-I-G-M. What a ridiculous word. I saw a film one time where two Yanks from New York decided what the Dictionary of England is, and were paid for by the British government way back. So it says a typical example or pattern of something, a pattern or model. Read that again. A typical example of something, a pattern or a model. So why would you use the word paradigm when you can use the word pattern? A worldview underlying the theories and methodology of a particular scientific subject. What a load of waffle. A worldview underlying the theories and methodology of a particular scientific subject. 2. A set of linguistic items that form naturally exclusive choices in particular syntactic roles. Now we're into the word syntax. Syntactic roles. I mean, you come out with that in at the mart or in at the pub playing 25. You see how far you get. Right. Often contrasted with S-Y-N, syntagm, S-Y-N-T-A-G-M. 3. In a traditional grammar, Latin, Greek and other inflected languages, the word inflected, another big word. A table of all the inflected forms of a particular verb, noun or adjective, serving as a model for other words or of the same conjunction or dissension. Did you ever hear such a load of horse manure? Or manure. It's just the word typical or a pattern or a model is all that's needed. That's all. This is what you get from these buccos talking through the hat. So then he says, or she says, obviously at some stage such a paradigm calls, so we use the right word, such a pattern or such a typical pattern calls the very nature of the national state into question. So there you are, the national state can go to hell and we'll have global rule by the World Economic Forum and that Fellosaurus and all that. We are not yet at that stage. Well, why are the Ukrainians opposing Russian invasion? And the Irish are not opposing African or Bangladesh invasion. Why? What happens if a big crowd of Russian Secret Service agents arrive in Ireland? Will they be watched? Or we give them houses? See the complete conflict. Obviously, at some stage, such a paradigm calls the very nature of the national state into question. Well, I don't call it into question at all. You're going into the bag on the left here. We are not yet at that stage. Communism has nothing to do with it. Well, the communism that is in North Korea, which is total control, it may not be the identical same, but the thing about it is that Kim Jong-un has complete control and Castro had complete control in Cuba. And with this here, every effort has been made to take away any control we have, to fix us good. You see, Starmer now is trying to beat them for the cigarettes now. I don't like smoking, but still, why is he taking away the freedom of people to have a cigarette? You see, this is the complete control. The complete control. This is why right-wing populists, political parties can't solve the issue. Yes, we can. If you take Saudi Arabia, it's a very rich place. And Dubai is the same. There's no migrants at all. I was in Oman and there are a good lot of legal migrants and they cannot vote. They have no say. Now, the thing about it is that a crowd of them migrants decided to head across the desert to Saudi Arabia, and Saudi Arabia sent out someone to tell them to turn back or they'd be shot. And when they came on and they kept coming, Saudi Arabia opened fire with rifles and shot a few of them. Some of them kept coming on, they shot a few of them, eventually they turned back. They threw them a few cans of water and a drop of coffee or something to get them back, and they went back and they never come back. So that's an extreme example. And I'll give you another example. And I'll just read you a little bit from Wikipedia. North Sentinel Island is one of Andaman Islands, an Indian archipelago in the Bay of Bengal, which also includes the South Sentinel Island. I'm talking about the North Sentinel Island. The island is a protected area of India. It is home to the Sentinelese. They have to be my favourite people. And indigenous tribe in voluntary isolation. Nobody gets in. About the year 1999, some fella landed and they must have got disease off him because they'd have no immunity. After that, they don't let anyone up. 2 fishermen landed to just have a fire and they kill them. They kill them, right? India does not follow them up. If they kill people, India doesn't interfere. I wrote to the Indian ambassador congratulating him on this policy. Now, who have defended, often by force, their protected isolation from the outside world. The island is 8 kilometres, 5 miles long and 4.5 miles wide, and its area is approximately 60 square kilometres or 23 square miles. The Andaman and Nicobar Islands Protection of Aboriginal Tribe Regulation 1956, fair play to India, just leave them alone. Where that never happened in the world before. Prohibits travel to the island and any approach closer than 5 nautical miles, that's 9.3 kilometres, in order to protect the remaining tribal community from mainland infectious diseases against which they have no acquired immunity. The area is patrolled by the Indian Navy. That's the stuff for them. That's the stuff. Never has that happened before. Normally the island belongs to South Andaman Administrative District, part of the Indian Union Territory of Andaman and Nicobar Islands. Thank God, thank God. Thank God it doesn't belong to Britain, the United States or anyone else. It belongs to India. In practice, Indian authorities recognise the islanders' desire to be left alone, restricting outsiders to remote monitoring by boat and sometimes air. So restricting outsiders just to remotely monitor them, that's all right. From a reasonable safe distance, the Indian government will not prosecute Sentinelese people for killing people in the event of outsider ventures. If that was the British, they'd have the chief up and they'd hang him. See the difference in people. And it won't be long till the West is trying to bomb England, bomb India. Look at the British, took it over. Oh, that's our place. The Raj, took it over, the Taj Mahal, See what the independent Indian government does. Not what the British would do. The British would have these people annihilated and converted to some of their religions in no time. In the event that outsiders venture ashore, in 2018 the Indian government excluded 29 islands, including North Sentinel, from the Restricted Area Permit RAP regime in a major effort to boost tourism. Right, in November 2018, the government's Home Ministry stated that the relaxation of the prohibition on visitations were intended to allow researchers and anthropologists who would pre-approved to finally visit the islands. The Sentinelese have repeatedly attacked approaching vessels, whether the boats were intentionally visiting the island or not. Now, they say that 28,000 years now they came on boats, and 28,000 years. Now, the thing about it is, a fella called Johnny Chow decided these people never heard the word of God at all, and he got a big Bible, and he went over apparently, and they fired arrows at him, but he went back to America, and of course he was full of American, he was a Chinese American, full of American Christianity and the whole lot, and he decided to go back again, and he tricked somebody some lad was given boat trips that you could photograph the island from a way off, within the limits, and whatever way he managed it, he managed to get ashore. And when he got ashore, he walked up on the island and he held up his Bible and whatever else he had, and they came out and they warned him and he wouldn't go back and they shot him. I'd say they shot him in the head, I'd say, with a bow and arrow. So they had weapons enough to do the job. He's buried on the island and he'll remain there for as long as our lives exist. So there are two examples of how people deal with forced migration. We know the Native American Indians couldn't stop the whites taking over and how they suffered. And we know the people of Sierra Leone and the Ivory Coast and the west of Africa, poor old black devils there, ordinary tribes people, living their lives happily enough. And along came the British, the Portuguese and the Spanish and enslaved them and bet them to death. So this idea that it's always right to let the stranger in is a load of horse manure. So we'll see what he finishes up with. Communism has nothing to do with it. Well, good luck with that. This is why right-wing populist political parties can't solve the issue. Well, those examples I have given you are examples of right-wing populist parties who did solve the issue. No problem. The Saudi state, Cuba, which is communist, but it's still a dictator, and the Sentinelese people. They're populist. They are popular. So if they're not popular, who is running the show? If you have a government in Ireland which isn't popular, who's running it? Keir Starmer's government is not popular. He only has 33% of the vote. So who's running it? So if it's not popular, who is running it? They don't even understand the issue. You see, nobody understands it except this geek. Or they don't even understand the issue. So the Saudi Arabians, the Cubans, don't understand the issue. The black Africans that was taking slaves, they didn't understand the issue yet. Oh, you're involved in global trade. Fat lot of good that done them. The only way it can be solved is the restructuring of the global economy. Well, it is being restructured, user, into a more holistic model. Obviously, that is not happening anytime soon. So we'll just check this word. I know what it means. It means complete. So this is what it means. It's an adjective. Characterized by the belief that parts of something are interconnected and can be explained only by reference to the whole. The solution demands a holistic approach. What a load of horse manure. What a load of horse manure. What's a tractor? Oh, you can't just take the engine, you know. You have to take a holistic approach. You have to look at the whole thing. I mean, aren't most machines at their parts? Isn't an elephant a sum of its parts? H-O-L, whole. We think it'd be W-H-O-L. So this is the crap. We have to take a holistic approach. See, globalism. So we'll go on now to see what he has to finish up with. So he wants this holistic approach, and that won't be happening soon. Open borders, completely open world. So this is what we're dealing with. We will never change them. What we have to do is to make sure that those of us who disagree with this get our hands on power. Now, so I asked him a question. Tell us, for a start, how many migrants would you like to come in? I've given the figure of 387 million. Right? That'd be mostly a population, a lot of people. That'd be thousands more than we have at the moment. So I just given that figure. And if you would like to see fewer, how many? So I always ask them when they want migrants, how many migrants do you want? How many? Can't answer. And I asked that question of several. So then there's James Burke asked the question, how did the Celtic Tiger work out then? Simple question. It crippled. A few people made money. And it broke a heap of people and we had to pay, right? What part of Tel Aviv do you live? So obviously this fellow says he's Jewish. I don't really know. Nor, you're not Irish. Don't claim you have knowledge of a country you know nothing about. And then there's Jim Services, Jimmy. That's it. So there are the comments. So this is the basic view. And I tell you, I have heard this view. I don't just go along with the thing that this is a Jewish person. I've heard this at work long ago. Oh, we need 8 million. You look at him and Cabbage Head Ryan. He said he wants 5 million extra people into Ireland. I posted the video of it there. And they wouldn't let Asi Bibi, a Christian woman from Pakistan, sentenced to death. They wouldn't let her in. So what I'm getting at here, and this is an unbelievably long video, we need to start forcing our voters to decide who's they're on. 90% of our politicians are on the left. And then there's us trying to come up. But of those 90% of politicians, they would swing. A lot of them don't really believe this. People tell me different. So that's the globalist view. Can we get that across to our ordinary voters? Well, you wouldn't know. Anyway, I'm making the attempt here. 30 minutes is a very long video. It's too damn long. I'm sorry, but it's important to do this, to post this on migration. Migration is on boiling point. It's on bubbling point. It'll bring down the German government. There's elections coming up soon. Watch that. It'll eventually sink a lot of countries. People just realise you can't open your borders. Why would you want to do that? What's the need to do it? And all of that. We'll see you back for something else and comment underneath on this video and the surveys. And then RTE is giving us out surveys. The people want this. That's not what I'm hearing. What I think, there was a survey a while back which said 74 people were very concerned about migration. I'd say there's about 60% very concerned at the moment. Let the rest off. Of the rest, a lot of them wouldn't vote anyway. We possibly can tackle it. If Trump gets in, it'll be a big start. That's a very, very big if. I'll tell you, they won't go into Russia. Where's the globalist in Russia? And the other thing about User's point, he's talking about a holistic approach and a wider approach and changing the whole world economy. That is happening. The BRICS countries are now forming their own currency. They're getting away from America and Europe and leaving us sitting there. The Africans have kicked out the French and the Americans in the Sahel area, sub-Saharan Africa. So there is a change coming. And the likes of this fella, it'll have nothing to do with it. It'll be the Indians, the Chinese and the Russians and the Africans who will ultimately decide what happens to all these resources. And the Western crowd will be sitting looking in, even if we get Trump in. So we'll let you go with that. We'll see you back on something else. That's my general view. Serious subject. Took too long, I agree. But there you are. We have to give an answer to these people. Good luck. Bye.